Hello Blender folks, welcome back to another of this crazy live streaming I'm doing, WikiRigs, and this time, as you can see perhaps in the title, this is a new thing I'm making. This will be a demo, demonstration of some features, alternative rig features. Why not? Because I've been experimenting with rigging with several, after learning for a long time and experimenting, you get ideas, you get insights, you keep learning, you talk with other people, get new ideas. And so there are two things I'm willing to show. So one of them first is this okay, the purpose of these demos is to showcase some of those features because it's interesting. It can be cool to know about those things. It's not tutorial, but it could serve as some inspiration and perhaps do things that tutorials cannot cover. And so yes, what is it? Yes, so there is this whole business, right, of advanced foot rigs. And then let me show you, for example, where it would be. I think that one. Yes. Oh no, not that one. This is the experiment. Sorry, let's see. No, where it would be here. Okay, so we have this whole business of advanced foot rigs where you have to create all this contraption. There are many good, excellent tutorials on this matter. This is a bit custom from what I've learned, but in principle it's not different from whatever already exists. So basically there is this feature, okay, then we can do this, toes, pivot, whatever. Then we can also have this roll for this positioning, the tip of the foot, and then like that. Yeah, pretty cool. And even this kind of roll for the side, so that's why these are used. However, yes, this is pretty cool, right? But then I started to try to animate this thing, like 3D animation. I don't know if I can give an example here, but yeah, I'm not a really experienced 3D animator, but I'm a former 2D traditional animator, so something I must understand about animation. And the problem with this kind of advanced rigs, maybe there would be some alternative to it. I don't think it's impossible, but it's not conventional. The problem is that we have too many posable bones, and this will start to create layers, right? Many layers. I don't know. I would need to okay, yes, so I would need to go on the dope sheet editor actually to see the different elements simultaneously, I guess, or not. Yes, here they are, but no, I can see them on action editor as well. Okay, so as I start to pose, then I can also pose this one. It may be a minor thing, right? But once we are kind of trying to animate, ideally, it would be even good to show some motion path, right? Oh, let's do it, why not? I think I have the shortcut here. Motion paths, Control T for me and Alt T. Where's that? Motion paths. Here. Yes, I have the calculate and this, so I'll calculate this for just the bones I'm using here. So okay, so as I start to animate those, oh, something is happening that I'm having huge delay here. Don't know what is this about. This could be the motion paths. Never occurred that to me before. So let's clear this. Okay, it was the motion path. So I don't know. I'll have to investigate that further. Doesn't matter. Okay, so the problem here is that I have multiple control bones operating on the same mesh. And then as I start animating this, if I have the leg go up, then because this bone I have already posed, I had to kind of undo this, while the feet, if I did something at least, doesn't. Well, you get the idea, maybe. So I have to undo, and this undoing, it cannot be automatic, because I mean, it cannot be instantaneous, because otherwise it will create gaps in the animation. So it's a bit, it's stacking transforms basically. So I'll have to not exactly counter animation. Yes, actually this will be a bit like countering animation. So this means that at least in Blender, at least the way I know how it works, and perhaps there would be better, some alternative to this that I'm lacking because I don't have much experience in 3D animation in Blender. But the problem is that this countering animation, manually countering, is pretty annoying. It can be done intuitively, yes, but it's a totally waste of time. It's a stupid workflow, and I think it's not very interesting. And so the idea of the foot rig, I love it. The foot rig, it's fantastic, those advanced ideas. But for 3D animation, this is not good. It's fine. We can do it with it, but it's kind of excessively technical featuring of things that were not properly thought for 3D animation. At least this way of making 3D animation. So I think, thinking about that, it occurred to me, what if I could just use the 3D, I was using the pivot bone constraint, and then I thought, well, maybe I would have many pivot bone constraints, why not? And yeah, it kind of worked. Then I just remembered that we have this option, or this this option here, 3D cursor with pivot point. And so this means that in this kind of situation here, I've deleted all that contraption, the advanced foot rig that I've learned from tutorials and all that. I was pretty proud that I was able to, I think whoever makes a, yeah, it took some time to learn that thing, because it's if I have to redo it from scratch, it wouldn't be so easy. Actually, it would be challenging, but many features there I already am comfortable with doing, but it's the whole thing, it requires a bit of thinking. So at least I have a backup, whatever. But then I've decided, what if I could, yes, the pivot, the, oh, okay, so what happened here? I've hidden everything. Let's reopen it. Sorry, let's go here. Yes, this physics. All right, so what we have to do here is the following. Yeah, let's do this at once. So I have the pivot point here. I think this doesn't matter. It's just this one. Transform pivot point is this shortcut. So it's dot 6 would be, and then dot 2 individual origins. It's not, yeah, maybe the dot could be made on somewhere easier on the keyboard. But then, as I have this cursor here, I can even could even create bones for more precision of that, but it would need to click the bone, and then it's not. So you see, here we have some. Wait, maybe this makes some difference. Yes, okay, so here I can pivot the foot bone from exactly the same thing that those bones were doing. And I can, it's actually even more, this offers even more freedom. So there, I see no reason, there's a lot of redundancy in those rigs. Of course, the toes thing is a bit different, and this is what I could not do with the 3D cursor transform, what's the name of this? Transform pivot point. Yeah, transform pivot point, of course, then I couldn't replicate this motion that the feet, right? So that is not redundant. So this I needed to find. I thought, well, maybe I just keep that, the heel row bone, right? And then, of course, just remember, I respect and I'm very grateful for the people that made tutorials, that developed those advanced foot rigs. I think it's very cool. But because of the way the 3D animation in Blender, at least in Blender, works, or I think that works, it's not very practical, right? Okay, so so here I can have a lot of flexibility because I can have the pivot point, the transform pivot point in the 3D cursor. It can be anywhere and it just works. Yes, there are some places where maybe, so you see, and this is just good enough for most situations. That this is not as precise as having an exacting bone on some preset location, but this is much more versatile. Yes, I have every time to remake, right, the position, but it's one click, one common thing. So, and yes, it requires some moving of the camera. That's why I've thought about the bones. So, but I don't know, it would actually, this is much simpler, more simple. And so this is why I decided to delete all those bones. I didn't even kept the heel bone, and this is another interesting thing, is because yes, I was attempting to do some bone physics using Wiggle add-on. It's a new latest version of Wiggle 2 add-on. Let's see where it is. I just want to check. I don't remember exactly which version. Yeah, 2.2.3. Wow, yeah. So this is exactly the version that I am using here. I've downloaded last week, I guess, and started to see if anything was improved. Certainly things were improved according to what I've read, but I'm not sure what they were. So what I was attempting to do was that on the floor, there's a floor mesh object here, and I've made collisions because these two bones, the toes bone and the foot bone, they are deformed bones. They have wiggle bone things. So if I select enable, I think I get those two selected, right? Yes, because they possess changes here. So what happens here? This is simulation, so it won't show in real time, but what's happening, you see the floor, it's interpenetrating the foot. As I play the animation, not in this case, hold on, something gone wrong here. Okay, I let the animation play, you'll see what we got here. Yeah, so I had to turn to this to work better. I had to turn this into a bendy bone with just these three segments, otherwise the deformations, the deforms would be a bit bad. So I can even do this. This is pretty funny. And so yeah, but that's not exactly what I wanted to show. What I want to show was this. Now I need to have this thing here. So using the pivot point, the transform pivot point there, playing the sims, because we can, it's update automatically. So even if here we don't see, if I just update here, it plays. So let's get it good. So here, and okay, update, and let's pivot this in real time. No, something, I think I got something. It's pretty simple. I just need to, yes, the pivot should be here. Oh, I think I'm doing it wrong. It's here. Yeah, it's actually, it needs to be here. So as I do this, there are some, yeah, this is not the best case. Let's see something here. So this is mostly able to replicate that effect of the tip being on the character being on the tip of the toes, and I thought I had better results. Maybe I'm not being able to reproduce it very well, but it works. It does something. Although it's not perfect, but I think for most animations, well, maybe not most, but yeah, there should be, I think I get too much interpenetrations here. I need to start the, yeah, this is experimental anyway, so yeah, here's a good example. And let's see, but I cannot hide all the bones. Let's hide at least these ones. Yeah, so that's pretty funny. So I don't need even that bone. Theoretically, it's not required. Actually, in practice, it's just that I might need to fix this some poses here to avoid certain interpenetrations, and it in real time it gets good, right? So this is an interesting thing. Then I'm not intending here to show exactly how this is done, but because this would require a tutorial thing, but I'll show at least the settings here. These bones are, yeah, it's just some segments, nothing special. It's connected, and this is the, actually what is this? This is the master bone, this is the root, whatever. And so let's see what are the settings for the Wiggle 2 add-on. So I've tried a lot of things, but most some stretch was relevant. Damp 1, yes. Most things are equal. Friction, yes, lots of friction. And collision, yes, to the floor. And this might be actually updated as a collection. So if you have many floors on the scene, or you have different scenes, we might have to make all those objects that we want collisions into a collection, a collision collection for the foot, at least, right? For the foot rig of this model, this character. So yeah, we can do this. It's a pretty cool idea of, I think this is from physics anyways, but it's good that we have this implementer and Wiggle 2 add-on this way. It's pretty logical and elegant. Then yeah, stickiness, this many things here will disrupt the rig, so it was not very simple to find out this. And it's from the tail, it's only option we get here because it is parented connected, the foot toes bone. And then okay, chain. Loop physics is just for this in principle. Quality 10, this is a bit strange to find other things. And then for the other, this one is nearly not necessary. Actually, it's not even activated. Yeah, okay. And we can bake if we were perhaps trying to render, or but it auto updates. Yes, I'm not sure about how the bake works, but the important thing is that we can see the results in real time, and if required, bake. I think baking would be the last moment, because if we bake the keyframes, they will be we just will have trouble if we need to update the animation. Even though it's not a posable bone, the interpolation for it will be compromised, so I don't know how it would behave. It would probably cause some trouble. So that's the first topic for the tutorial, which was this idea of the foot rig, alternative foot rig. And so that was going in a good direction. So I got rid of all the foot rig, the advanced foot rig with lots of features, just to use the 3D cursor with these transform pivot point options, and then just pose, rotate the way I wanted the foot, with just one, basically, yeah, just one control bone. Even for that feature of the high heels, or let's say not high heels, this would be another feature that I had to delete, unfortunately. I'm not sure if I have it somewhere, but yeah, why not? Let me show that too. Yes, in here I still have the foot rig, so this will be complicated. I wanted to make a tutorial about that because it's a very specific topic, and I don't remember exactly how it is working here. I have a property which drives some features here, so they toggle. The driver makes transformations to the mechanical bones, some of these roles, I think this one and this one, because this is what allows the character to switch between when this character, she's wearing the boots, and so if by removing the boots we can reset the starting position of the foot, not I think the rest pose. Yes, it's a sort of manipulation of the rest pose, not of the rest position. With yeah, this I'll have to make something more refined to explain, but yeah, it's just to show what I mean here. Let's make, I need to find where is that properties. I don't even remember. Here. So the properties are on this bone, and let's see, high heels. So this is the scale of that bone, which is locked, so I can rotate this on the x-axis for doing that, okay? But you see here it's driven, there's a driver here on the y scale, so the length of the bone, and it's 2, and this is that properties that we create from here, right? Custom property, yeah, here we create properties. These are a bit complicated, but it's depending on the feature, it's actually pretty simple to make. It's just just give some thought. If you pick any tutorial about this, simple one, start out, this is pretty simple ones to make, the ones that I have here, nothing fancy here, nothing too complicated. Okay, then I want to switch. I lost again the place where it would be. Properties. Okay, so I can swap here or here. So if I put 1, there it's 1 or 2, no other options. I limited to so here the things reset. The foot and the boots, they reset to if you see, can you see here? Yes, so flat foot and high heel foot, so both rotate. They use the same bone actually, the body and the boots, they are separate mesh objects, but they use the same rig. At some point, sorry, I had made boot bones, but then eventually it was redundant, so I've decided to simplify it, although maybe it could be useful for some stuff, maybe to keep organized stuff, but we could re-employ them. So what happens here is that I'm not sure if I will be able to present that, yeah, because it requires the selection of one bone. So, but if you see what will happen, that it will switch between these, so this will become disabled and this one enabled. Let's see, properties, so this is enable disable, the larger bone here, enable disabled, disable enable. Okay, so it inverts. So basically what's happening here is that this bone, which is a mechanical bone, it cannot be posed here, as well as this one, the limit rotation settings, they change. So one is favorable to, because I had to test which were the limits, because if the foot is on a high heel start rest pose, like exactly like that, that I need to reset. Okay, so it's already, if it's already on a start position like that, the limit for doing that should be lesser, and perhaps here it should be different too. And so this must affect the foot heel and the foot toes roll. Yeah, foot heel roll, foot toes roll, foot toes roll. Yeah, so they work inversely, and so we could check in details here. So this is the way that I managed to make these high heel boots reversible. And for rigging it, the skinning, right, it is actually funny. I believe there could be other method, but basically it's we get to deform the mesh of the of the boots to assign the weights on an already diagonal pose in relation to the ground. It's it's something I would like to show. So it's very challenging, problematic. This one would be much simpler just to add, but I wanted to do it. I thought it would be an interesting challenge. It gives flexibility. Of course, there should be other alternatives like having two models or not, or two models of the foot. I don't know that. Why not? That you can exchange, but the idea is that or simply have a character which is always wear high heel boots. That will be much simpler, right? Okay, so let's go to the other thing. That would be here. Yes, what I wanted to show is the other contraption that I have here is the multi-eye-key thing. This is not finished, so it's still some of experimental. I had already done it with the arms. It's not finished, but yeah, let's start. I'll show you the arms later anyways. It's not I have presented it at some already, so yeah, there's a lot of things happening here. So because I'm trying to, because they are two this is lots of challenge involved into this thing, and some that I still have not fixed. So of course I have a starting position which is this is not, it complicates a bit in fixing some stuff, but so far, yeah, there are many challenges. So here it's okay if this bone stays below. This is the master leg bone. It's for the upper IK, and this is for the lower, not this one. Actually, I should hide one side. Okay, here we go. So now I have only one side showing. That's good. And so to have this possible, this was already quite challenging, because this is the rest pose and this is the rest position. So it's simpler now because there are not all the bones here on the foot to deal with. Basically there were just the deformed bones. But if there were all the mechanical bones here at some point, I think they would stay aligned here, and then eventually they would copy, transform or something towards this bone that then will be uh, connected bone constraint to this one, which is the master foot, right? So, and this to allow all this just to make it possible that I could control in an organized fashion what's going here. Yeah, so this was a matter of challenge, but eventually I found that it is possible. And even though the rest position for these bones in this case is not totally aligned in terms of bone rolls, or even here no more aligned here in this line, because the leg is rotated. I could do this differently, but it's a bit tilted, so ideally it would be nice to have a straight, really. I had it before. Actually, maybe this is a straight line, but it feels like it's an aligned. Yes, I've made some recent change, so I thought I just changed the bone rolls. Unaligning the bone rolls is not so problematic for IK bone constraint, but unaligning how they feature on the world space, the direction, right? This can be a bit more troublesome, but it because it's so close in this case, might require some correction. It doesn't pose big trouble. Then we can solve many of the issues with the secondary issues, with not all of them but some of them, thanks to on pose mode, to this difficult to find inverse kinematics panel. So lock IK axis, so X and Z axis for the bones on the IK chain on both sides. So this usually helps preventing that the bones go crazy as we pose. But here, because I have two IK chains, so the shin bone has inverse kinematics bone constraint, so IK bone constraint. It has its own pole target. In the case of the arm, I was able to get the same pole target for both, as you can see here. Control pole elbow left and control pole elbow left, the same. It was placed somewhere like here. But for here, I'm having trouble with that, and I'm not sure exactly why, because, well, there's one joint, so it's a leg, it's an arm. What's so difficult about that? So I'm not convinced this is good, but it works. So I had to make a lot of stuff in order to get this. It's not perfect yet, so there are some. This one is for this one, so you see the chain length here is 1, the chain length here is 1. The master, this is the master IK for this one, and this is the master, the conventional master IK for the shin, except the shin has also, this bone constraint has just one chain length, one in the chain length. Okay, and then this is the pole target for the lower IK, and this is the pole target for higher IK. So let's see. So the cool thing about this, the greatness of multi-IK, I left in the description what this I left in the description, sorry, the tutorial that shows the where did I took this idea from, this multi-eye key rig. I didn't invent it, and I found it really ingenious solution that I'm surprised there's not enough discussion about that, or it's not very popular, because it's actually solves in a great deal what is considered to be F key I key switching. Actually, this turns, at least, yeah, this kind of renders obsolete or substitutes, let's say, substitute the requirement of an I key F key switch. Yeah, so what's happening here is I'm moving them simultaneously, but this I'm trying to, okay, so it's a new setup I had to make, but that's another question, not addressing it right now. So the greatness of this rig is that it allows for joint pinning, knee pinning, elbow pinning, and I just have to pose those bones in some synchronized way. I can move them, both of them simultaneously. It's not sometimes the best thing to do, but it gets some time to get used, and it requires certainly some smart control rig that for the leg I'm still not sure what is better currently, but nor for the arm, but the arm I think it's more easier to control, at least for now. So it gives really what IK inverse kinematics in Blender, at least the IK bone constraint, doesn't allow to do very well, which is break down the IK chain. So this actually gives full control of the chain, although it's kind of a bit slow to pose, but it compensates, I think, because I key and F key switching, all the methods that I've seen, they are also have their own limitations. Some are better than others, and they also have troubles. They also have pros and cons, even if we could consider that one of them is having to make the rig or adjust the rig, or having to then having problem through the animations, having to switch all the time, or having to match the switching if it's not done automatically. So yeah, there are many things, many peculiar problematics just regarding IKF key IK switching. And so why not having something like this, right, where you can have F key and I key working harmoniously more at the same time in this way. So I think this is pretty cool. There are some problems with the, not problems, yes, problems, we can say like that. There are some things here but this is actually true on normal I key anyways, because of the here lacks of automation for, oh, it's this one actually, this in this case, yes. So now let's see what is, okay, so what are those contraptions here? So I've made these, I don't know if they are necessary. Those are just mechanical bones, just to spatial bones, let's say. They serve as some sort, because the pole targets are parented to them, they tend to start on that rest pose, right? Rest position, then rest pose. It automatically adapts. Of course, they could have bone constraint on their own. In this case, they don't have. Because they are parented, offset, I can move them, so freely. And they reset at these positions. However, these ones, they have some copy location, first of all. So this one, copy locations here. Pretty simple, right? Otherwise, this thing doesn't follow very well. Maybe there's better solution for that, but currently on dump track, it allows it to align to that bone. So this is, well, this is still not totally as I wanted, but yeah, it kind of aligns. So this helps making this whole contraption in place as I pose the bone. So of course we don't have to be looking at these things while working, right? And I can augment this, of course, but doesn't matter now. It's optional, of course. Then the dumped track, yes, it does that. Isn't there a copy rotation? Oh, that is for that one. So same setup, and I think I forgot to complete the setup. But the copy rotation, this is also incomplete. It is copying the rotation of the shin bone. So as I am able to pose this and the shin bone rotates on local coordinates, right? It will make this thing rotate inversely. No, not in this case, not inversely. But it could be, depending on the case. And then I could change the influence, but maximum. And if it's not enough, I could even maybe duplicate this thing. I think this is plausible. Yeah, but then it needs to add, yes. Yeah, so I can make, yeah, this could be an interesting idea. I'll keep it like that for now. So it would be like, nearly like a driver or a transformation bone constraint, except using more rotation rate input. Because the influence, we cannot double it, right? So we can make a new one. And the mix is very cool, this thing, the mix stuff, right? Okay, so now let's see what's next here. Yes, let me show you about this setup. So this is interesting. Yeah, this is a bit off topic, but so okay, I have a copy transforms here, and this is copying that one, mechanical key foot. All right, but this is not actually the key. I've made it differently. This is more a reference, space reference for the transforms here, because it's quite complicated. Because you see, now I have to make that these bones, the deaf bones, on this rest position, they start already unaligned with that bone, and this bone on purpose is rotated that way, so that I could get some sort of, how should I put it? Okay, let's see the copy transforms. Okay, replace. Okay, so it's taking this data, then this one, for all these bones to warp here on rest pose, they copy transform here, right? And this, of course, has the key bone constraint to that one, but I could have put here maybe, but whatever. I didn't thought with when I recreated that bone for space reference. So what's happening here is that this has a copy location on that one, So okay, it will follow first of all, so that's very simple on the head, and then it has a copy rotation. Okay, on local space, so I didn't use anything like that, so it uses its local space on okay, it's no, so what that does, okay, so it's kind of match, it creates some tilting apparently on purpose. Yeah, so that's yeah, never mind, it's too complicated. I don't and I don't remember exactly what I've done and why exactly I did not. Sorry, I got too much into needless details. So let's go forget about this, but all this I had to do that way just because I wanted to have a different rest position from the thing. But the cool thing is that even though we have this problem here that, yeah, maybe I would need to find I have more or less T-pose, right? But the most difficult thing, and that I've just solved, it took me a lot of trial and error, was this problem now. Because when I have a single IQ chain, I could use the 3D cursor pivot point, and because it's a whole IQ chain, whatever change on the foot will push those bones, right, inversely. So that's why inverse kinematics, right? However, this is why I have this thing. This is what I've created. So if I disable this corrector here, and I try to do the same trick here, so I don't have the mechanical bones for the advanced foot rig, and I wanted to do this, okay, let's say here, it wouldn't work because this IQ chain doesn't control the rest of the leg. And so you see, I cannot push upwards, although I can do that, but then the transforms that I need for pivoting on a place like this are not so easily transferred to this bone. And so because if I transform this bone, this also have transforms here and sometimes on this bone too, or not, but on the foot, right, it's dragging the mesh, so I'll constantly have things going crazy if I try to and there's not a way to select both and make them rotate. There's not an active element with 3D cursor simultaneously, so I cannot do anything here. I would have to return to the advanced foot rig because I cannot, or create a pivot bone constraint here, or many, because I couldn't use this very well, right? Because the rotation of this bone now is limited because of the way of, because it doesn't move the whole chain up, and this bone is locked. So what I did to find some desperate solution to that, because I didn't want to recreate the advanced foot rig, but if it was the only way, eventually I would have done whatever. But then I found, yeah, this is not optimal, but this is the thing. So I create a limit distance in which the deaf shin bone was going to have an outside, so it will be pushed like a force field, pushed away, yeah, from this bone as it rotates. So I need the pivot point, right? Oh, that's here. And so now, even though this bone doesn't control the bones upwards, the other Aiki chain, I can't pivot here because it still controls individually this bone. And this was fortunate because this bone is not, because this is actually offset parenting. I wonder what would occur. Yeah, let's try this for science, Blender science. I don't know what happens here if I do that. I think it would start to fail because then this constraint will do nothing. Yeah, it cannot push that bone, so I lose the feature. But thanks to the fact it is offset parented, and there's this gapping. The gapping was not really necessary, but and this gives some ideas because I started this rig with a knee bone in the middle. It was part of a triple Aiki chain. Then I decided to delete it because it makes this area very complicated. So I deleted the joint bone, which was a deforming bone, which doesn't mean that we can't add a deformed bone there outside of the chain. So it could be like a floating deformed bone, like some sort of a helper bone that would take the waves from the knee region instead of those ones, or they will share influence, but that would be a floating bone that would be maybe even some sort of independent from the Aiki bone constraint. It will follow, it will respect more the deformed bones positioning themselves. Why not? So for now I didn't require that, but it's an interesting idea, I think. The idea of floating deformed bones is not new. There are a lot of people, riggers and people that make tutorials that talk about it. I've seen today even Pierrick with his tutorials, rigging tutorials. I've seen one, he talks about how he makes the triple chains, like org bones chain, then mech chain, mechanical chain, and the deaf chain with which is a cool thing actually to not be a chain exactly. You break the chain, you can make floating bones and whatever. So this would not, in my case, I'm not even proposing necessarily a deformed bone, but no, I mean yes, a helper bone. Even seeing, it's bizarre, right? Think of the mesh in the middle as something outside of the whole contraption, right? Something to be auxiliary. I don't know if that word exists. Okay, so and now I can do this because, and this doesn't change the upper rig, although it creates some bad deforms here, but this with a little thing I can solve like that. Of course, if I push more, this bone, it will drag the shin and the foot, right? But if I am careful enough, I can just solve this little deform that occurred here just because of this pivoting. And so I have my feature of pivoting free for the foot. The foot is back free pivoting on the 3D cursor, even on a multi-Aiki chain rig, multi-Aiki rig for the legs. So that, yeah, that's tons of work, and there are still more things to do. So critically, I want to, yes, there's a tutorial I've just marked that I want to watch, which is regarding, let me see it, regarding multi snake dynamic parent. No, where is convert rigging square rigging tentacle? Whereas it's pole target. How to control? Yes, this tutorial maybe I have watched already. But I want to rewatch it because then this channel is pretty good. Level pixel level, yeah.
Hello everybody.
Let's see. Yes, I don't know, maybe I have watched already, maybe I have even a more advanced solution, but this is the sort of thing that is very, very necessary on the rigs we work with. So it's not simple to solve this kind of things, and there's not much content about this. And a cool idea that I've been using, it's to use drivers, or actually I don't like much drivers for that. I use the transformation bond constraint, but for that it's also not that simple. So yeah, so we need to not forget to be changing this on occasions. So because I have this now, I must be careful to not push this way too much. So I need to find perhaps some way to limit this thing, because I don't know a situation right now where I would need to pivot this in some too crazy way that will require. Yes, there are more subtle things, so maybe I need something to avoid this excessive. But usually we don't need this bone to do that, because it wasn't supposed to do that originally. It's only doing that because now I have this set up. If I turn it off, you see this was where it was, so there's no danger of that happening. There are some limits here that are difficult to provide, and same here. So on occasions we want to pose this simultaneously, and even on occasions maybe, yeah, so there are some bone constraints here that can be useful. For example, this limit distance on this, and there's a dumped tract, so this can make things a bit more dynamic. And I don't know now how this would work with the, in respect to, I haven't tested out. It was disabled anyways. Let's see how this interacts. Now it's kind of, it's not working, because not because of the dumped track, but because this limit distance. Yes, so limit distance, is it because it's too much? The dumped track we could do it differently maybe. These rotations, they don't do nothing. This bone is, for now at least, I thought that maybe we could make these rotations useful for maybe displacing the pole target. This was an interesting idea, but I couldn't complete it. And so let's see. So you see, it's not that complicated. It's actually quite intuitive. It's funny to control this rig. But even if it's not, yeah, we can do some funny things here that on simple I key, a single I key chain for the whole leg, we wouldn't be able to solve this very simply unless with the I key F key switch. And even then, I think this method is more intuitive. It might be even faster. I can't confirm that, but I see huge potential in this thing. And so let's see now what I was willing to show. Oh yes, is this limit distance. So actually this bone is being pushed outside, away from this one. So you see here, this is why when this bone constraint is on and I push this on, this is not working. It's because this bone is too close to, yeah, I'm not being able, I need to reduce this distance. So I could do something like that, but not too much. Let's see. And of course this might have trouble because these bones, they change position, right? So what could be interesting, because this is not supposed to happen except for pivoting. Yeah, so keyframing, no, this could be complicated. I could ruin pivoting, right? Yeah, it's also because pivoting is a function of the position, so I cannot, it would be complicated to keyframe this thing. Right, yeah, it could be complicated if it would require too much attention while animating. But it could be achieved, yes, this could be a solution. So I just enabled that when no, not that, I only enabled disable, I only would use that feature here when I need to have a good pivot there for the foot. And well, when we are animating the foot, probably won't have lots of pivoting functionalities, so so that's why that's probably not a good idea. But here, if I give this limit distance bone constraint with maybe I need a bit more distance, yeah, something like that, this could be good enough, except that I can displace this bone a lot, and this will cause some variations in here, I think. Okay, so anyways, this is what I'm working on this Frankenstein model that passed the main character. I'm adapting from 2D style for a long time already. I never finished this rig. It's a very, I'm learning a lot, and I keep learning this thing. I keep experimenting. But it's time now that I kind of finish this character, right? So it'll take a little more. There are many features I haven't completed. And then I have more than 20 characters for world building that for which I'm making this character, including. So let's see the arm rig. The arm rig is much more elegant, and I've been working it for a longer time. Currently there are some issues with the elbow and the skinning, but let's let's show also a little of this. I forgot these two. Yeah, let's get the wrist bone as well. So here, yeah, so you see I am having some, the rest pose is this one. And so same thing. So I started with the arm rig, and then this has a dumper track. The dumper track is more a visual thing, right? Because if you don't have it, it goes like, the fact that it aligns anyways is not really a problem, but visually it's a bit annoying. So this is why the dumper track, it doesn't really have any function of rotation. It's even locked. No, not locked. Okay, because of the dumper track in this case, I can still rotate on the y-axis. And so here, same thing, but because of some changes I'm making to the rest position of the arm, I'm still not satisfied with that one. I found a better one actually. There are some things here, it was better before, that this is not responding properly. So a previous version I had works fine. And so yes, these are actually cool to pose simultaneously. So same thing, there we got elbow pinning. And in this case, yes, this would be part of a mechanical chain of bones that I only did for that one. So this is just to regulate some, I was starting to build it, but I built it just to have some control of the arm. Yes, this is more likely a, yeah, it's more or less floating, and its copy transforms that bone which I have hidden. So here I just wanted to show a bit of this arm rig using the shoulder. The deforms here are not really good, but because of this starting position, there is better. I think that last finding I had is that this starting position was something like that, actually was actually good, better than this one actually, because then for when the arm goes down, the deforms here under the armpit are not really difficult to fix, or are not very bad. As the arm bends, like in here, front of the torso, it's also not very bad. It kind of works, but there is some issue I must certify with the elbow, the pole target actually. And then all the other positions work, including some dramatical position here, but then the elbow starts to get crazy again, and so this would require some adjustments, some automation, right? But then at some point it gone crazy, because I was using yeah, you see there are a lot of twisting here, which this is already part of artifacts of the skinning algorithm, linear blend skinning here. But on the case of dual quaternion skinning, in this case I was having huge problem. There was a mesh warping event because of, yeah, I could even show it, because this is what dual quaternion skinning does, preserve volume option. It at some point of rotation, it's this bone that needs to rotate. I wonder if I will be able to. Well, now it seems that the rig is collaborating, but it shouldn't. It should warp at some point, and this is disastrous to such rigs where we want organic rig where we want to have lots of. Okay, so for some reason it's not. I wasn't able to reproduce it here, but yes, this would cause this warping on 180 negative 180 degrees of rotation of deformed bones, and this is its explosion of the model. So not really good, even though unfortunately, because dual quaternion skinning artifacts are kinda better for organic rigging, less worse, right, than linear blend skinning, in my opinion. But then if we count that this warping is an artifact, well, that's a huge one, and depending on the amount of motion, yeah, it's really not recommended. It's good to know. So I didn't know it. I was using all the time dual quaternion skinning. I had no idea. This is why we need to get some habit of whatever thing we learn in Blender, we should get in the practice to read the Blender manual, because that information was there of dual quaternion skinning. But I've learned from a forum instead of consulting directly to the manual. So, okay, I think I've shown everything that I wanted, even more in this presentation. Let's see if there's anything on the chat. No? Okay, so that's it, folks. That was how much time this is already. I don't know, 1 hour and 18 minutes. Okay. So yeah, that was a funny demonstration for me, at least. I hope for you too. And this will be kept with. Sorry, this will be published and stay online. And another thing, since we are here, I will retry that rig. There was a tutorial that was made from, let's find it. What's the name of this? Is Hips Dive Rig, is that one? Yes, is that one. So it was published by Lewis Animation 8 days ago, and so it's he told me in a comment that
in this video
it is he got this idea from while he was experimenting. What's the name of that show? Blender Studio show they've made, the spring, no, not spring, that one with the deadly mushroom guys. Where is that? It's told here. Thanks for I found this when looking at how the Blender Studio used bendy bones for the formations on their characters for the Sprite Fright short film. Yes, I've watched that show. So the style there was quite cartoony. So it's organic rigging, but not expected perhaps to be so much complicated for organic rigging. So stylized bendy, yeah. So, and then he attempted something very curious. He took that for what I understood, he picked these ideas, that rig, and he tried to experiment it with the same concept on more realistic characters. Yeah, great thing. And then he found out that this was actually cool for, and then he made this rig. Then yesterday I made a live with where I tried to reproduce this on this character.
To duplicate them.
Wait, what is this?
And right-click so they stay in place. Hit P and separate the bones. Now they are in a separate armature. You can snap this armature to the same origin as the armature you want to add it to. Shift select the armature you're adding it to, right-click, join. Here it's disappeared, but this is because it was on a different layer, so we just need to make it visible in the bone layers. And now, in edit mode, make sure to turn on X mirroring, and you just need to move them into the right position. Left is the no armature. Turn on. If you want to copy this onto other rigs.
Oh no, okay, sorry. This is another thing that I didn't use. So okay, I was pretty confused. Okay, so then I tried to replicate this thing here yesterday, but I didn't. It didn't work totally, but I was very impressed by the lateral side bending. So there is this crotch rig. Let's see, where is it? Was here, the test. So here it is, because I started on a rest position, which is saw what it was. So I had to have a different setup for the starting thing here. Yes, not so different here. Okay, but whatever. I did many attempts and it yeah, let me see the side bend. Yeah, this is not the version that has got the most advanced part of it, because then I screwed up other things. But for the side bending, it was actually pretty cool. I'm not sure if I get everything. Yeah, you see, not even if I get here, let's say if I reduce, now this doesn't do nothing in this case. We don't see it very well, but there should be some interpenetrations here, or maybe not. Well, no, it's not. This is not so. Yeah, it could be much worse for the amount of rotation here. So this is happening on this orientation, and yeah, of course it's not perfect. This I have to say it was better on another version. And so I'll keep experiment, but I think I will keep this for the side bending. Of course, the side bending in this case is slightly better or substantially better because of this starting rest position for the mesh and the deformed bones. And so you see the deformed bones here, although not the control bones, the control rig. Is that allows for the rest pose to be different in this case. So I thought this could be the reason why it is failing, but then I've made all this changing of the rest position of the mesh, you know, that crazy thing I've did on another live, and reattempt on this character, and still no. So what I think is that for some reason this is good for the side bending. I believe it's also due to this crotch rig. So this triad is very interesting, and so I'm implemented this on my rig probably, and this I'm still gonna check if it can help on deforms along with other setups that I'm making, because I'm having many ideas now on how to make a new rig for that. I have already, in case you don't know, I have already a tutorial about this that uses armature deform, right, instead of shape keys. And many of these ideas actually I got from Philo Viver, which is a rigger, professional rigger, and he makes models, right, very accurate, very a bit Disneyan stylized characters, and his rigs are very impressive, and her characters very beautiful, female characters in general, and yeah, and he has some tutorials. He has a YouTube channel where he demonstrates lots of how his rigs work, and from these tutorials I got some interesting ideas that I started messing up with armature deform helper bone systems, which is very fun. So, and yes, there was also Skies, Royal Skies, which has dwelled with a tutorial on that, on the hips and butt cheek rig, whatever, with drivers in this case, but still armature deform stuff. And of course I'm not really expert on armature deform, but I'm training and I've learned some. I'm going on a slightly different path. I want to keep things simple as possible, and that's why now I have a really crazy idea with dynamic wave painting. And if you're watching here or you're gonna watch later this thing, I'm already tell you about this crazy thing. There is a possibility. There are two things which are surprising. The deform bones, you can add driver to them, so you can toggle this on off. So you can have, for example, helper bones that you can toggle this. However, there is no influence level for this. Wait. Oh no, this is envelope weights. Yeah, and this I never knew that. Okay, so yeah, I guess there is no influence for that from 0. So, but then I've started to understand a bit of bone constraint, which is it a bone constraint? No, it's an object modifier, particularly this vertex wave mix, not the edit, the vertex wave mix, sorry, which allows for toggling, if I understand well, between two different vertex groups. So this means that it is the tests I've successfully made with that, primordial tests, they suggest we can have dynamic waves on helper bones, even on the deformed bones actually. So this can go crazy, because actually it's not so much about deformed bones, but about changing waves, dynamic waves themselves. We can use both. And so this is that would be binary approach. I've attempted this, but then you have mesh warping, so it is risky. I think that it is possible to avoid the warping, because from this to this you can have some minimal I'd say blinks, right? So this can be bad for on the animation, and so this is problematic. However, if we use properly that object modifier, we can input we can make dynamic waves, and I thought this didn't existed in Blender. Actually it existed already, it's just that there's no tutorial about this for rigging so far as I've seen. No one talks about it. This is revolutionary, I think. Very promising. I was looking for that, because where would that come into handy? I'll just explain theoretically here. If we have the leg that is rotating here, and we have waves on here from, for example, a frontal helper bone for the thigh, and then on the back bending we have another there. You see, even though there are two bones, and even if they don't move, they are changing the ratios for the wave painting of the thigh. And so even if they are not moving, as I did on the tutorial, and even if they aren't deforming the mesh more than with transforms, right, actively transforms, they would still be affecting the ratios on both sides. And so this interference, it's what would make that this, you could disable one as the leg goes in a zero position, like T-pose, right? Then you can enable one, disable the other, but then you could have some minimal popping of the mesh, so this could be annoying. Oh, about popping. This multi-eye key chain rig solves eye key popping. It just doesn't occur anymore. It just doesn't occur because I think the knee popping is a feature or an artifact caused by when the chain is longer than one, apparently. So this is the conclusion that I found. So there's no eye key popping here. What about eye key stretch? Yeah, there's some things I might need to test here. Actually, let's see it right now. I'm curious now about, does that do anything? Yeah, not good thing. I don't know how to use this very well, but it should be. Yeah, it was very low already, so yeah, it will keep doing something, but yeah, this is not a counter stretching strategy tool, so I don't know. Okay, so what are they talking about? Yeah, so about that rig project of the front bending and side bending. Yeah, so yeah, very theoretical. I don't think I haven't enough concentration. I've lost the line I was speaking of, and this is gonna be too complicated. But what you can keep in mind is that yes, we can drive the the deform option for the bones itself. This is crazy, totally crazy. And then more than that, we can also make dynamic waves. And I don't even know very well this modifier, and these two also not. So maybe they are even better than the mix one, but I found that the mix one would serve the purpose what I was looking for. So as the bone changes, oh yes, because we can add the driver to this stuff. So these sliders, they are the influence of each of the vertex groups that are placed here, and then we can make difference. Yeah, I have to show that. So add, subtract, multiply. It's really versatile in some sense. And we can have many of them, so we can have for example, I visualize maybe with a single helper bone that stays in the middle of the limb bone, the thigh bone, for example. As the thigh rotates forwards for a front bending, then we use some, we start adding influence, dynamic influence, right, from another vertex group that doesn't even require to be a vertex group from a deformed bone. It can be a orphan vertex group, but it will be shown here. It will merge, or depending of the mixed mode, it could even replace. So we can make, and we can make this smooth with driving this stuff. So this is a bit complicated, but actually it sounds pretty feasible. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and so sorry taking so long, but this and talking too much on those things, but that's what I wanted to show. Lots of features here, lots of crazy experiments, and so we keep going down the rabbit hole, curiouser and curiouser. So happy blending, see you next time, and hope you are enjoying this, that these lives are also being useful for something. At least they will stay there as reference, whatever. Have a nice week, folks. Bye.